I know that we all have some probably a lot to say about everything. So I'm gonna get this started. So first of all, thank you to everyone for joining us. My name is Ishay Govender, and I'm a freelance journalist. I focus on culture, specifically through the lens of marginalized voices. At least I try to, food culture. And I'm the founder of SA POC at the table. I'm going to, before we get into the topic, I would like to invite the participants we have today to just introduce themselves, please. Let's start with you, Pitso. You're first up on the screen next to me.
Hi, my name is Pitso. I'm from Limpopo, a former police officer turned chef. I'm based in Cape Town right now. I'm more focused on African cuisine, and the reason why was because of it was neglected in this mother city. And then me being from Limpopo, I felt so homesick, so I decided to give other people the taste of home.
And Lesego?
Hi, I'm Lesego. I used to be an engineer, then went to chef school, got the degree, got into fine dining, and realized it doesn't talk to the South African palate. So I started taking the mickey out of it and trying to speak simply about it and teach people about food and educate them. I was a judge on Top Chef South Africa. I do radio, media, a lot of things. I write up at a book. Yeah, it's just me. I cook for a living.
Great. Karen?
Yes. Hello, everybody. I'm Karen Dudley. I'm from the kitchen in Woodstock. The kitchen has been around for 11 years. Obviously grappling with a whole lot of things around that. I'm also an author. So I'm a chef, an author, and a restaurateur from Cape Town.
Thank you. Nolu? Oh.
I can't hear her.
Yeah. So hi
Sorry,
everyone.
let's do that again.
Yeah. I'm Nolu Dube-Cele, and I'm the owner and founder of Seven Colors Eatery. Seven Colors Eatery is basically a brand that celebrates traditional South African food. And what I try and do, I try to go into spaces where you'd normally not find traditional South African food. And I mean, in Cape Town, it's actually most spaces. So I'll package our meals. So what we eat at home, what we grew up eating in different forms, events, picnics, and it's kind of my way of saying, here I am, I belong, and I also do incorporate, like, let's say, other cultures that are from South Africa in our food, because I also want to inspire a message of unity and diversity through food. And yeah, that's me.
Thank you, Nolu. So I just want to also welcome others who have joined us since, Lamai and Portia. Nice to see you here. We've requested if everybody can keep their video on, that would be great. And if you are not participating in the conversation right now, if you could just mute your facility, that would be good. So we're all here today to discuss the state of dining out and dining in currently, and how this may or may not look post-COVID. So it's a large topic, particularly as the landscape is shifting so rapidly, and what was a very precarious industry, certainly when we look at a living wage previously, has become more so. And speaking with us, as you may have heard in the introduction, we have Pitso, Lesego, Karen, and Nolu. All of them are wildly creative. They're very well known in their fields. They've had different trajectories in terms of their journeys, and I think are catering for different markets, but similar markets at the same time. So I think we're going to just start and delve in the big question that's been on so many of our minds is the industry going to survive, or will it go back to the way we know it to be. And Nolu, I'd like to start with you.
You know what? I just believe the industry will definitely survive, but it's not for the weak. You need to be the person that has the passion for what you're doing. You need to be creative, and you also need to have as much support, because alone you can't do it, because there's a lot of aspects that are going to be involved in what we do. For instance, myself, I've had to change my whole focus in terms of how I present and deliver my food. And it's become a totally different plan from what I had. So I just believe we will survive, but we'll need to be very, very passionate about what we do, because it's not going to be easy. It's going to require a lot. Yeah.
Okay. Lesego, what do you think? Business as usual?
It's going to be business unusual. Basically adapt or die. That's one thing I've realized. People are starting now to, I was saying actually before we started the meeting, I was saying to Pitso, people are actually supporting the brands that have a personality behind them. Ironically, that's all of us. Karen's place, Nolu, what Pitso does, they've got personalities behind. And I've seen that there's a sense of emotional attachment. I don't know if it's because of what we are going through as a people, but people are starting to link and support businesses that had an emotional connection with their clients before the COVID virus hit. And I think those are the ones that are going to be supported after all of this is over. But it's also about adapting. What I've done is gone more online with a lot of my things. I'm posting on YouTube, even though I don't like it, but people want to see the person behind the food they eat. And in so doing, they want to support you. I mean, my book came out 2 years ago. It's back at #1 as a bestseller because of what I've been trying to do during the lockdown. And I think that is basically the story of how we're going to survive. Showing people what you're going through. Don't hide and try to pretend everything is perfect. Tell the people, guys, this is what I'm going through. My business needs your support, and this is how I'm going to be adapting to feed what you need.
Yeah. Karen, would you like to comment?
You know what has happened is a little bit like an invisible natural disaster. You know, if there was flood or fire, we would sort of start up again easily. Insurance would pay out, and it would be fine. But this is it's a different thing altogether. I think that the restaurant industry, you know, our business is a level 0 business. We're about hospitality. We're about seeing people. We're about connecting with people. And I think there's just no doubt that, you know, I'm grappling right now. I'm actually going to have to close my brick and mortar business, keep business open, but kind of close the shop because, you know, landlords aren't coming to the party. The banks are certainly just kind of keep adding to the expenses. So I'm having to sort of cauterize that part of my business. And I think I'm not the only one. I think there are many, many people who are needing to close their businesses because we won't have restaurants as we know them for, I'm guessing, at least another 12 months or so. The delivery business and so forth at right now is kind of a little bit, the market is a bit oversaturated. You know, everybody is kind of putting their business online because they're trying to figure it out. They're just trying to see how to do it. And so, Lesego, what you're saying is, you know, people who do have some kind of personality around them, that's a great thing. The delivery business is not great business, guys. It's more packaging, too much love, too much energy for too little income. Basically, I can see that if you have no overheads, you know, if you're working from a garage, perfect, great for you. Yeah. You know, that's amazing. if you have overhead, like the flippin' telecom and the security and the whatevers, it's not going to pay the bills. So I think quite soon we're going to see that people are going to, and some people who are kind of going with delivery services, Uber takes 30%, so people are going to see that those markups are really tiny. I don't want to sound like a doomsday, but I'm heading towards positive. I'm heading towards the positive, but basically, when you're accustomed to scale, like in my business, I was seeing like 100, 120, sometimes 150 people a day, because I'm catering 1 or 2 parties for 30 people, for 40 people at a dinner party. I'm seeing 80, 100 people in my shop every day. When you're accustomed to that scale and you've built up your machine to deal with that scale, it is very hard when you're seeing nobody, when you've lost all your tourist industry, and when local people are not going to have money, So already the people who, like in my business, who I'm dealing with the top 2% of people who can afford to kind of have lunch almost every day at my shop. That's the top 2%. So of that top 2%, that little number is whittling down even more. And when if restaurants open again, they're opening into a depressed economy where we don't know what we're dealing with. So it is, I know I don't need to paint the grim picture, but I kind of need to articulate it for myself over again to make me go, I'm not crazy. This is actually happening. This is actually real. And yeah, it's really quite hard. And what I want to talk about, my good people, my good friends, is what I'm thinking is that we kind of need to save ourselves and be shoring up some kind of money, putting away our ovens. Well, look, I'm just talking for me now. I'm just speaking for me. But saving the ovens, the boiling tables, and 1 or 2 steel tables for like about 8 months from now, when we're really going to need money. Because now, in my case, when I started my business, sorry, I'm talking too much. When I started my business, I started with nothing.
Karen, I want to hear everything, and I definitely want us to get into the financial stuff, which you've started already. But I'm going to quickly pivot. To Pitso. And we're going to pivot to Pitso before you cover everything.
I'll stop right, Ishay, and my friends. I'm so sorry. It's so nice to talk to people in the industry.
I want to interrupt to say that I think that these spaces are needed where we can get together and unpack and share these concerns with the people who understand it, and who better than you guys. But of course, you're all busy on the ground trying to sell these businesses, so we steal an hour now and then. Pitso, please tell us. How do you go?
Okay, like Chef Lesego said, that we should speak about these things. Things have changed. We used to having some kind of a consistency with, me basically, I was in biscuit mill. I knew that every Saturday is going to be tourists and other people coming to the mill. But now, no tourists are in. We can't even go out. The mill is like Nolu says, it's on level 0, so we can't do anything out to get the food to the people right now. And me personally, I was so lucky because I just closed down the restaurant a month before the COVID-19, and the Thursday, I think the lockdown on the Friday. That Monday, I just concluded another deal to open a restaurant in Long Street. So, but I never signed anything. So now I'm thinking I would have been stuck with the rent, with the space, with no rent, with no customers for how long? Maybe for 5 years. We never know when this is going to end. But also, what I've done is I have now seen the opportunity of this current COVID-19. Instead of seeing it as a threat to us, we need to look into what opportunities are there. Like delivery systems, like myself, I'll speak for myself. I've teamed up with someone who does especially my deliveries. I mean, so they order the day before, they take it to the customer. So my plan in the future, because the personality now is not there, so I'm planning to design something just to communicate with the customer, maybe like some kind of a sticker with a note and saying something, guys, I miss you, something like that. I don't know yet, but it's something that I'm planning to do. But that's the personality part, and that's the opportunity that I see for people not to get to forget about us. I mean, they can eat the food, they can make the food now. So if they can't just have them, we just rather be in their houses through food,
Yes, that is definitely a huge part of the system that many of you operated in before, that personal touch that is missing. And we're going to get there. I want to take a second just to welcome the other people who have joined us. We're not necessarily, I certainly can't see on my screen because I'm using a smaller device, but just to welcome all of you. Hi, there are two Marys and Tuani as well joined in, someone I can't identify. But anyway, thank you and welcome. You know what we're discussing today. We're looking at the state of dining in and dining out currently. And post-COVID, we're trying to imagine a better future, but at the same time, be very honest and real about the struggle. So thank you for joining. If you have any questions, please type them up in chat, and hopefully we will have a couple of moments at the end to address them. But so we've started off looking at how things are going to change, or will they change at all? It's quite the answer has been quite obvious. A lot of, I recall what Lesego said very strongly, and he said, it's really a case of adaptation and one needing to adapt. It's very difficult because there's no precedent here. And in many cases, you are the pioneers. This is uncharted territory, you know? So I would like to address what Karen started addressing, and that being finances, because you know I know that you, some of you will have issues with paying staff. You've got various overheads, rentals. I wanted to ask if any of you are familiar with the relief schemes. Have any of these schemes been able to provide you personally with relief in terms of the government or third-party relief schemes such as the Eat Out Relief Fund? Nolu, can we start with you?
Yeah, sure. So I am familiar with obviously after, or as we announced lockdown, you obviously think how are you going to cope? Where are you going to get a bit of funds? Are you going to go to a bank? Are you going to get a loan? How are you going to get that loan in order for you to cover those bills? And for me, it wasn't getting a loan because if I was a business that was operating from like month to month. So if I get a loan and I don't have customers, how am I going to pay for that loan? And so second option was to go to like the different government funding houses. There was one which the Cape Town, which Tourism Relief Fund. I applied for that, and to this day I haven't received sort of like a response. And then I had another one which I was super surprised because for some reason, I have to be honest, I've never really gone to look for government house like funding, because of trust issues, you know, and you hear stories. I was like, why Nolu, just work and make the money, fund yourself, or find someone who understands your products and your values and get them to fund your business. So looking for funding has never been something that I did in terms of government houses. But I did apply at the NYDA, and so far the response has been amazing. And like they've been able to communicate with me, ask for documents, and I'm just waiting on them. Probably in a week or two, I'll get a response to hear if they'll fund my business. I also try to look for, because I also belong in the tourism industry, I looked for funding from different companies that used to support me. And it was difficult to get funding from them because they're in a similar position to say, we're not making money, we can't be giving out money. So it's been a difficult road, but one highlight I can say is the correspondence between the NYDA and myself. I think things are looking amazing. They will give me a stipend, which I can just help in the survival of the business. Yeah.
Nolu, can you just explain to everyone who's listening, what is the NYDA?
Well, it's basically a funding house for small businesses, and they basically give you, you have to be, I think the age, you have to be about not older than 35, and they support small businesses in forms of funds, starting out their businesses, but also getting support. They have different programs, like business programs, from financial, accounting to management, and basically running a business. And government gave them an amount to share with the different people that you don't necessarily have to belong to that community, but you were able to apply, and applying was super easy. Just going to their website, downloading the page, and emailing the documents. Yeah, so it's one of.
So that's the Youth Development Agency, the National Youth Development. Okay.
Yes.
Lesego, so you run something slightly different in the sense that you don't, and by choice, you don't have a brick and mortar restaurant space. So in terms of, I think it'll be very interesting to hear how you have gone about in the changes to cover costs and whatnot, because there probably are many others who are also operating using a similar model to yours.
Yeah, as you mentioned, I don't have a brick and mortar standing restaurant, thankfully. I was actually looking into it before COVID, but yeah. What I do, to those who don't know, is private catering. So people call me up if they want a restaurant environment in their homes. They would call me, and we'd bring the waiters, we'd bring the tables, basically recreate a restaurant in their homes or the event area they want us to do it. So I owned all my equipment. Similar to Nolu, I've never applied for funding. Everything has been out of my own pocket over the years. So I don't have any debts in terms of the equipment I own, and I don't have staff. All the staff was ad hoc. So if there was an event, I would use a staffing company. So before all of this happened, I was already literally working as a skeleton type company where the sole employee is myself, and then utilizing things when I need them, utilizing companies that can provide things. I've been also lucky in terms of the partnerships that I built up before via branding. That's why I was saying personality is very important for our industry as well, getting people to know the people behind our food. For example, I'm the ambassador for Bosch, and what they did was provide me all the kitchen equipment that I need to build a kitchen on my own premises in my yard. And they've also been supporting some of the funding I need for recipe development for my next book and things like that. So private sector, as much as they can be irritating, asking for a lot of paperwork now and then, if you can prove to them that there is something they can get out of it, be it via marketing, be it via branding on your packaging, be it via using their name on your website, they also can come on board and provide you things that you might need. We don't always have to go to government. Speaking of which, I found it very interesting how the Department of Arts and Culture is supporting all the other cultural aspects of South Africa, like artists and things like that. But chefs and providers of food and the food that we provide is actually cultural. We are not put into that picture. We are not considered as part of developing the arts and culture of our country. And it's a bit disappointing in that there isn't a fund specifically looking at assisting our industry on its own. We are applying in the same market as everyone else. So yeah, in terms of my own funding, I've been okay. I've been lucky enough to have run my company like I was under COVID this whole time. So yeah, no drama as much.
Okay, I wanted to say thank you for the questions that are coming through on the chat. We will look at them. Please keep them coming, any comments that you have, suggestions, and we will try and address them and look at them shortly. So Karen, your situation, of course, is quite different because you've have a long-standing restaurant that has supported several staff members. for a long while. It's been, and you've had a very personal touch, so you've got a very personal relationship with those people. And in the particular circumstance you find, I remember our conversation at the outset, it was just at the start of the lockdown when you said to me, I think that I'm going to have to close the kitchen. And for many people in Cape Town to hear that would be, you know, your establishment has been there and part of many happy lunches for a long time. So perhaps you could just address this particular part for us, how you went about managing this particular struggle in terms of the restaurant and your staff.
You know, I kind of knew that hard times were coming. And it's really difficult because none of us have been in this place, you know. So initially, you know, there's a lot of just kind of emotional shock, you know, and kind of trying to tie up a business with dignity is very hard, you know, trying to stop the debit orders and, you know, trying to terminate Telkom, for example, you know, whose mailbox is full, so you can't actually even cancel your account. It's been hard and frustrating and quite grueling. But that's what I've been trying to do, is actually just to stop the expenses from, you know, sort of cauterizing the things that are losing money. And then I suppose just sort of keeping, I'm trying to look to the future and sort of holding on to the equipment and the stuff, because I realize what I do, I can do anywhere, you know. I can do it. I'm a caterer, I know. I've worked on building sites and in parking garages, and I have a wonderful team who I'm hoping I can look after for as long as I can, you know, just dripping funds for food to them. And basically I'm kind of looking to, you know, I suppose people really want to see me and want to hear from me. So my online presence, I think, can be helpful to people. And I think it's that thing of kind of people want to know how to live well in this time, you know, so they kind of need to believe that it's possible. And they also we need to be authentic about where we're at, you know. It's like, I am eating dals and rice and slicing up some tomatoes for a salad, you know. I don't have exotic ingredients. That's what's real right now, and I'm taking it that that's where people are at. So sort of trying to keep my online presence going. And, you know, I can do deliveries, I can help people, I can make food still going on. But I also kind of am feeling like I kind of need the time to sort of grieve this past season, you know, just because it's been a long, big, kind of successful one, you know, and looking to what it is that people might need in the future. And I think for sure, you know, people are going to want to gather. They're done with their homes now. They've had all the intimacy that they could have. And, you know, if there was romance, they're great. If there was tension, they're terrible. You know, but they're going to want to, you know, I'm already longing for a coffee from someone else, anyone else, you know. I'm longing for, you know, sister from Bibi's, you know. I'm kind of longing for things that I can't make and I'm not interested in making, you know. I'm also sort of staying out the time a little bit because I kind of think this kind of oversaturation of delivery stuff, and I mean, especially to all our people here, what I'm realizing is that there's a lot of average out there, you know. So we still have to do amazing, you know. And especially around this table, as we've talked about before, we still have to do our distinction, you know. So Lesego's got something distinctive, Nolu's got something distinctive, Pitso's got something distinctive, you know. We have to have something to differentiate us from every other burger and pizza that there is out there, you know what I mean? And if it's home food, it's still got to be delivered beautifully and deliciously, you know. So I think what we're looking at is kind of really reinvention, just as you all have been saying, and kind of looking at like a different business model. That's the reality of the thing. You know, we're looking at an online thing. It's not going to be massive turnover, but it's going to be able to maybe pay 1 people, 2 people, and, you know, keep a roof over our heads and keep us living out of our gardens.
You know, there's many interesting things that you have brought up there, Karen. You know, one of course being delivery. How do you distinguish yourself? And all of you have worked on models of excellence in your particular niche. And when you start outsourcing certain elements of that, or I think Nolu, you brought it out, the service levels that your customers are used to, how can you guarantee this? Well, you certainly can't guarantee the personal contact anymore, which was sort of a trademark that a lot of you gave, Lesego, with in terms of how you went into people's homes and provided that very special service. With all of you, there's been this very personal element to the kind of service. And now, as restaurants may or may not go back into serving again with enormous distance, perhaps, how can we guarantee this? How can we still do this? Because let's be honest, people come to restaurants for this very reason, either a takeaway being nourishment or a celebration meal, but in both instances, they do it because they want something a little extra, whether it's entertainment or whether it's that personal touch. So how are we going to deal with this going forward to offer that element? Pitso, I would like you to add something here, because I know you'd mentioned you'd been thinking about stickers maybe on your delivery that said, I'm missing you guys, I'm thinking of you.
Yeah, I think the personalization of an order will be like just the closest you can get to the client, or maybe one day you wake up, you just do personal deliveries yourself, and then you go in and you talk to them like on a face-to-face, obviously with the social distancing thing. So, I mean, I do that. I deliver personally sometimes, but just to hear how people are interacting, and like people are sorry for us. I mean, like I've spoken to a lot of people, just said like, how are you doing? You know, I mean, how's the industry doing? Because people know that, I mean, without them coming to us and coming to them now, it's the other way around now. So it's kind of like thinking you're desperate, and it's not like the desperation. It's just like you're getting the product to the customer the same way, but in a different manner now. You know.
Yeah.
So I think my personalization of the I mean, I just need to keep on that personal touch, like with the order. I think that's the right answer that I want to give.
I wonder if this is also not a way for us to reconsider the hierarchy that existed previously, you know, where you say that your customer looks at you and like, oh, shame, why are you coming out? But the question should be, why not? It's the most practical thing at this moment. And, you know, are we actually saying that, you know, Pitso needs to be here and the delivery guy here and the waiter here? And I think maybe to some extent, Nolu, would you like to add something to this?
Like, again, I'll go back. It's just been one of the biggest challenges for me, because what I do is my business is so linked to who I am and my personality, and actually serving the customer. And at this point, it's been so difficult to do that because we have to do deliveries. Someone has to cook in the kitchen. And obviously there needs to be another person that's doing the deliveries. And my concern really has been, at the moment, it's my husband that's doing the delivery. So I'm happy. He understands me, he understands the product. But my worry is when he eventually is able to go back to work, which is very soon, will the third or person that I asked to do the delivery understand the product? And I feel now it's going to be very, very important that we look into partnering with delivery companies and train them so that they be able to translate our brands in a manner that's fitting for us. And time and again, just like Pitso, I've been doing delivery myself just to stay connected with the customer. But even then, with the mask on your face, you know, you just only have your eyes and your food to speak for you. But it's also been tricky in terms of quality, you know. It's just like if you're serving at an event or myself doing markets, a grilled chicken society, it's straight from the grill to the customer. And then if you have to deliver it, that 20 minutes driving to the customer compromises the quality. And just like also special events, I'm also kind of including handwritten notes to my customers. Let's say if I know it's your birthday, I had a particular customer who just landed from New York. She's a South African, and this was a friend of hers was treating her to the meal. And I I did a bit of a handwriting, you know, and I feel it's for us people that are in the industry to actually communicate our needs to different creatives to assist us in terms of how do we package our meals in order to translate what's in our hearts to the customer. It has, I won't lie, been the biggest challenge, you know. How do I take Nolu to that person? How do I make sure that my grilled butternut is received like the same quality, you know? Yeah, so that's what I would like to add.
I wonder if,
can I interject in here, or you?
Yes.
Yeah,
please continue.
You know, doing food, I have done this for a long time. You know, delivered food, that's kind of been my business, and it is extremely exacting. You know, doing food for delivery, this is what I mean. It's expensive because there's so much more packaging. Packaging is expensive, so you have so much more work because you're separating everything out. Everything must be beautifully presented. Everything must be labeled nicely. You don't want things to be mushy and splashy. You kind of have to do the sauces, and Ishay, you've had this from me. You know, you have the sauces and the garnish separately, and it has to be packed nicely, and people have to feel like you've given love and attention to the thing. So can I just say here, just from my experience, is that, you know, even as you have to adapt to things that, as I call them, have hodom, you know, things that can stand. So it's about managing people's expectations. People are going to know they're not going to get it hot. They're going to get it at room temperature. Best they eat it at room temperature, unless it's fish or a casserole, which they have to have heating instructions for, in a container that they can put in the oven or that they can transfer things to. So, you know, things have to look nice. You know, they have to look beautiful by the time it gets to someone. That does take packaging, and it does take managing people's expectations. You have to be quite forthright, and you might have to change your menu to say, this is a room temperature thing. You can heat this up. You have to pour the sauce on afterwards. You have to scatter this parsley on afterwards. So that you kind of manage people's expectations in that way. I hope that's helpful.
That's actually a great point. And I wanted to just bring up tie up something Nolu said to something you've just said, Karen. In managing people's expectations and in wanting to deliver an excellent product, I think that there is an opportunity here for people who are now looking at this delivery model to use the services of other creators, as you said, which of course would be an additional cost, but would also be a way of engaging that community to create something that represents you, because maybe previously you didn't have to really go into personalized packaging that's you know, perhaps eco-friendly but also cost-effective, paper for your notes and so on. But at the same time, as you did in the restaurant before, Karen and everyone else running restaurants like Lumai and Portia, who've also joined us, it's an education that the public needs, that if they're going to be ordering your particular food as opposed to a burger or a fast food pizza from Uber Eats, it comes with certain, it needs to be served in a certain way, and they need to be happy to spend that money to support you, as long as they're willing to do just a little bit to guarantee that it would be almost as enjoyable, a worthy second prize to sitting in your restaurant or being served by you at the market. Lesego, in terms of delivery, so I believe I've just seen a notice that your book, I think, has surpassed a Wilbur Smith in terms of sales now with deliveries, because these are also things that which I find really creative and interesting, that cookbooks are now being delivered with the likes of Uber Eats and other delivery services. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I've realized with South Africans, you have to build up to launching something. So before I launched my book a year and a half ago, what I did for about 3 months was just share recipes. Everyday stuff that people were cooking at home. I'd share a recipe, I'd share a photo, share a recipe. Then the book hits and everyone's like, oh, we've seen his recipes, let's buy the book. I used the same model now during COVID. So during the lockdown 5, where literally we were in prison, what I started doing was showing people how to make simple ginger beer. Showing them how to make simple vetkoek, everyday stuff that even though they buy it every day, they don't know how to make it at home. So I started sharing that online. And then as soon as level 4 was announced and Loot and places were starting to be able to deliver, people started buying into the book. That is how we got it back to #1. South Africans are loyal. I know I sound like a broken record about personality, about speaking to people in an open manner. For example, I've been listening to Karen and Nolu talking about the packaging and how expensive it is. I've been asked to also start making food for delivery, but I've been open about it and saying, look, guys, I can't be serving you the quality that I and my brand is known for from my own kitchen at home. I just cannot. Therefore, we need to get to a lockdown level 3 where I can be able to get to my own kitchen where I work professionally. And in so doing, you also start spreading the message about staying at home and stuff like that. It also tells people that there are levels to this takeaway thing. You can't be comparing what I will be selling you for 150 Rand to a KFC bucket and telling me KFC bucket can feed a whole family. Les's one plate can feed only one person. So communicate and say, this is what I do in this 150 Rand package. Even show people how you make it. Make it a personal thing. Today, this week, we are going to be making, I don't know, Karen's famous coleslaw. And then Karen goes and does a YouTube video explaining how she makes it. And then for that week, it is on special at her store, getting people to order it. But then the next week, it's something else, just adding that personality. It's all about marketing and just speaking, that whole era of people just knowing there's a restaurant and not knowing who the chef is, who the owner is, who the people behind the scenes is not going to work going forward, I think. It's going to have to start being more personality driven. And so doing, people will start to understand why we charge for things the way we charge.
And I've got to say,
I love you, Lesego. Just sending a love message to Lesego. Are you feeling the love? Feeling the love?
I'm feeling the love. I'm waiting for the tears. You always cry, Karen. I'm waiting for
so, it's very interesting that you speak about marketing. And Lesego, I know that you have you not won an award or two recognized for your presence on Twitter for what you do, particularly with the recipes? I think you. I think so. Definitely a Twitter king. Yeah. And so we know that everyone's been baking because there's no yeast left, and we're all growing our own sourdough babies. And we've seen this proliferation of our colleagues and friends appearing where they perhaps didn't have such a presence before on Instagram live videos and collaborations. And I know it is a great ask, because if you guys, Pitso, Nolu, Karen, Lesego, are also busy in the kitchen trying to keep that element of your business going and delivering and worrying about marketing and instructions and personal notes and the future of, paying your staff, plus you've, looking to do this as well. It's a lot to ask you. I think one needs to also be realistic in terms of how you spread yourself, but it's an exciting place to be. There seems to be a lot of positivity on those YouTube and Instagram channels, and definitely space for you to be there. How's your experience been on YouTube, Lesego?
It's been crazy. Before lockdown, I had about 1,800 subscribers. During lockdown, it's gone over 5,000. And people, I don't know if it is because the content I'm putting out there is stuff they can relate to, but they're engaging and they're asking questions and they're posting pictures of their food at home. It's not as negative as you'd often find on like a Twitter, where people, you know how Twitter gets. So I would recommend to anyone who is passionate about the food, and it also helps in showing brands how you communicate. I've been offered a TV show that we are going to be recording from next week, based purely because of how I've been posting my YouTube videos. So showing yourself out there, putting yourself out there does help. But the trolls don't help at all. So it's a balancing act, I can say.
Yeah, the internet seems to bring out the best and worst in people. But what's also interesting is when you say people are engaging, it's almost as if this state of lockdown, this pandemic has forced more of a human side out of people, whereas previously people would be voyeurs and just consume the content, next video. If they're actually taking time to post a comment, it means that they've also slowed down. And so perhaps this is the moment for more of you to get out there and show what you're doing. So Karen, I've noticed you've been posting videos on Instagram stories. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's I have to say it's quite sort of terrifying and addictive at the same time. Kind of like, is it all right? Is it okay? And I wouldn't be able to do it at all without my son Ben, who is kind of like my producer director. Even for this meeting, he was saying, "Mom," and I just had to laugh just now when I was talking too much, because he's like, "Mom, you don't want to be oversharing. Don't overshare. Got to listen to the other people." Anyway, but it is quite fun to do it, and it, initially when lockdown first happened, I kind of felt almost like it was indulgent for me to be sort of talking about myself and be sharing what's in my fridge, and I just felt it was like inappropriate. But then people really started asking me, what do I do with white beans, and what do I do with carrots, and what can I do with this? Then I felt like, oh, I can actually be helpful. I know what to do with the cauliflower. I'm the queen of the broccoli. I know what to do. So that sort of spurred me into action, and it was fun to share with people, and I kind of feel good about possibly being useful, to being helpful to people. And again, really sort of trying just to be very aware of being authentic, we haven't been buying meat. We just actually can't afford to buy a lot of meat. So we're just really playing to the vegetables, which feels true and good and nice, And so yeah, I've enjoyed it, and I realized that people want to hear from me and people want to see me. And I think as we sort of finding our way, people are hopefully quite gracious as we sort of figure it out together, I'm hoping that that's how it goes, that people won't mind that my hair looks like a nest, and that and that my kitchen's got a whole lot of dirty dishes in the sink and so forth, and that there's a little plastic thing in the corner and the light's not so great, whatever. I'm just hoping that people are sort of gracious with that. And then there's this sort of sense of sort of taking people along with you, of like, come, we're going to figure this out together. We're going to figure this out. The nice thing is that people are really cooking at home, so it's wonderful, and I mean, I call myself a chef, but I'm more or less sort of a glorified, home cook, a lazy one too, so I can kind of figure out, I can help people sort of take shortcuts to get to the places where they are, and also help people to find out the things that they find delicious and what they really like to cook and what makes them happy, and give them things that just make things a little bit extraordinary, or, you know, teach them how to pimp their meals, you know.
Make it special. It's interesting that you mentioned glorified home cook, which I find, I mean, I'm not agreeing with you, but you do home cooking beautifully. But I realize that everyone on our panel today actually is a specialist at that. You may or may not be trained in a professional kitchen, but all of you have been putting out the food from your culture, right?
Yeah.
And have created a channel and a space for it. And I think it's really powerful. I would like to also just take this moment to encourage everyone else in our community who has these skills and who's been hesitant to come forth and to do this, and if need be, maybe reach out to you guys. I know in many instances people see you as these very public personalities who are very established, but I think it would be great if we could connect with those who are in the industry and not at the level that you are at, and just give them a little bit of a hand. And in that way, we could just keep the profile of this kind of food, our home cooking, food from our cultures, in the spotlight in South Africa. On this last note, I would just like to invite anyone. We've had some questions. There was a question, I believe, from Simba. Lesego, you have shared your YouTube channel. Thank you very much. There was a question about, it's from Bongo. Would it be wise to go into the food truck space? If anyone would like to comment on that. And then lastly, I would just like to invite any of the participants who want to unmute and ask a question very quickly. You can do that. Would anyone like to answer the question about food truck pizza?
Yes, I think that's a good idea. That's a good idea. I'm looking at this as minimizing the cost. I mean, this new normal, like people are calling it, it's more like minimizing the cost, like other than paying rent and all these things. That I don't know, like if we're talking about now as in level 3, or is it after level 1 or what? But for me, my advice to everyone who wants to start the business: don't go fancy now. Rather get a low-cost place where you just cook from. You don't even need, people do not even need to know where you are. It's just like a secret location, and then focus on your deliveries. Just for now, that's what I think. I mean, what is it again? The food truck. Yes, it is a good idea. I mean, just to start to build it up again, but don't go that big now.
Okay, and in the last 5 minutes, if anyone would like to, if you're not a participant as well and you're just attending, you would like to just say, maybe take one of those 5 minutes to add something about your experience or have a question, you're so welcome to do that. You could just raise your hand or put it in the chat. I see that Tuani has commented to Karen and said, I love the outlook on embracing your personality and your talent online. What do I do with all these veggies I bought before they go bad? I love it. Simba has raised, okay, Simba, welcome.
Hey guys, hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I'm a pastry chef in Cape Town. I've been working from home for the whole of last year. So when the lockdown happened, I didn't do anything, pretty much. I was just like, no, so much pressure with getting things done by myself. Like, okay, cool. Let me just not do anything. Let me just see what's going on out there, okay? So what I started doing during the lockdown is I started connecting with different communities. Like finding out like what do different people need? Because if I'm going to evolve, I need to know what people want. That's what I started doing. So during that time, I started making different things. I got an Instagram page, Pastry by Simba, where I just started posting whatever I felt like making. And I started building a communication. So what happened was, the idea was, I started posting other stuff I was doing during the lockdown, so that when level 4 happens, there's already an audience and there's an anticipation that's built already. And what ended up happening was the demand was so high. I ended up making close to like 100 croissants in a week for a cafe, based on word of mouth. What I started doing was I started targeting like because I like to look at the vibes, like what's going on around. Sometimes I go for a walk during the 6 to 9 jogging area. I started just like watching what are people doing. They like to jog, get their coffee, then they go. Say, okay, cool. They're getting coffee, but I don't have pastries. I got an idea. So I started going to different cafes near the spot. Like, listen, I can provide you some pastries, right? And then some guys pass through, they get your coffee, they get pastries, we sorted. So I started getting a lot of like contracts with different cafes. Like, okay, look, we need 100 brioche buns, we need some croissants, can you just come through? And so pretty much that's what happened. Like, it's knowing what do people want in this sense and the vibe. Like, once you know what people want, you know what to make. So that's pretty much my angle moving forward, is just making sure I'm in touch with the community, knowing what they need, so I can know how to help them. Yeah.
That's great. That's reading the market, right? And then creating the niche as you see the need. Thank you.
Yeah.
There was a request to share all social media details on chat so people can also follow and engage with you. I hope I've typed some of them correctly. I did a few of the participants very quickly.
Done very well, Ishay.
Those are the because I know some of you have different names on Twitter and whatnot. Make it complicated. Why don't you? Okay. Do we have any other questions from any of our other participants? I know that Lumai and Portia from Africa Cafe were on the chat. If you're still here, can you just let us know?
Still here. We're still here, yeah.
Okay. Hi there. Would you like to add anything in the last closing minutes, Portia?
Hi, everyone. I guess for me, having been in the business of making food and delivering food and doing catering for so many years, almost 30 years, and at my age, I just feel that I've got to learn a new trade and go from actually making food and delivering food and leave that to the young ones, and actually learn something new, and that's doing what to do on an online business. And I feel like Karen, for instance, I would suggest that you look into ways of how you can inspire people and do some like a master class of some form where you can actually just be teaching people your systems of how you did what you did and how you got to where you got to. There's so many people that are struggling, young and old, of what do I do now? And I mean, I've been in the kitchen. Geez, I've been in the, like you, been in the kitchen for absolutely years. I'm 60 now. And I thought I can continue being in the kitchen and leave those for the young ones. And then so I find I just have to look, and luckily I've got this young one here next to me, and we do a lot of things together.
Tech savvy.
So with my knowledge and a way of mentoring, we're thinking of having some kind of an online boot camp, or
like a coaching,
like coaching,
give other young entrepreneurs basically take the knowledge that Portia has of so many years and try and teach that, instead of making food for people, like kind of teach them how to start their own business and, you know, kind of take it to the next level.
Yeah, or even teaching them how to teach other people, because you don't have to teach people how to do, but you can teach them how to teach other people to do. So like, that's what I was thinking. Karen, you've been around the markets and doing things for absolutely years. And I don't know, I like being in my own kitchen, but I'm tired of cooking for hundreds and hundreds of people. Personally.
I'm with you, sister. I'm with you.
I'm so glad. There you go. So glad COVID-19 is telling me, stop, do something different. So that's what I would say, yeah. And I think I want to continue in this chat, because between the two of us, we've got some ideas that we most probably will kind of concentrate on and then later on share with the group, because it's something that everybody can participate in. make money for yourself, and also at the same time
Support others.
support others.
You know, Portia, think about the value that you bring. I mean, that is an explosively amazing idea that you have just there. You know, think about all the things that we've been through. We can save the people from all the pain of trying to figure things out. They can get a real leg up in knowing, oh, you've got to kind of cost things like this. You've got to procure things like this. This is what you take to a bank. This is the algorithm that people are looking for. This is how you present things to make them sellable. I mean, all the kind of, you know, things that we can't write down, but that the lucky ones can get, you know. What an amazing inspiration and what a great encouragement. You've totally made my day, Portia. And thank you for delivering me, sister. Thank you.
Can I add to Portia's?
Yes.
I just want to comment as a young person that's trying to make it in the food industry. And I mean, obviously it's going to change. Things are going to be totally different. But I've always felt the need of having our own people to come and help us, you know, in terms of learning really how it is to manage a restaurant, because the environment is so different, and that knowledge, those masterclasses are needed. It's not like there has not been a lot of people of color trying to open restaurants, because the question is, why don't we have people of color owning restaurants? Yes, there are the political reasons, but there's also just operational and support and understanding the industry from a business perspective. Because yes, we have our passions. Yes, we have our recipes which work, which are amazing. But like, we also need mentorship. So I just wanted to say yes to that. Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you so much, everybody. And as you know, I think some of you are covering topics we were going to cover at our conference in March, which, hello COVID, got pushed. I think some of you were also going to particularly address certain topics then, but that got pushed forward. But this is really encouraging. I know that I have spoken to you, Lamai and Portia and Karen. We've also addressed some of what you mentioned. And this is where community comes in. And this is the power of community. I know the difficulty is getting all of you in a room or in your living rooms. So thank you so much for your time today. From the perspective of SA POC at the table, we look forward to continuing this with various other conversations with some of you, with others. And let's just keep the spirits up and keep supporting each other. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you for all the comments. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.